We'll go ahead and get started on the content and kind of the topic today. So we are going to be jamming out on a topic that is kind of near and dear, I think, to Melody's heart, and you'll probably learn why very soon. But it is all around ramping sellers and how you can keep them motivated during their ramp time, and also just best practices, especially on the enablement side when it comes to ramping reps and just making sure that those folks are successful. And so with us today, we have Melody Schwartz, who is the VP of Enablement and Operations over at Spiff. Spiff is a leading compensation management solution. Awesome product. Take a look at them if you're in the market or looking for comp planning software. And then we also have Lee Tennant, who is a director of revenue operations over at TapCheck and has a bunch of kind of experience in this area around ramping reps and comp plan design. And then myself, Matt Baum, CEO, co-founder of RevOps Co-op. RevOps Co-op is a global community of 11,000 plus folks in revenue operations from all across the globe. And as you can see, we actually just announced today our first annual conference, RevOps AF, which is going to be in sunny San Diego at the end of May, so that we can celebrate everything and everyone out there who is #RevOpsAF. So get your speaker submissions in if you're interested. Otherwise, just save the date for now. And with that, I want to kind of pull up some of the slides that I have. And while I'm doing that, I just want maybe Melody first, if you want to add anything to that kind of personal and professional introduction that I mentioned. And then also, you know, you've done this before. I always like to ask about a fun kind of personal fact from our panelists. So give us one non-work, non-RevOps related item that you can share with folks about yourself.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you so much, Matt. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. We're very excited for our presentation today. You know, fun facts are always interesting because you think of your fun facts, and then when you need a fun fact, you like go into your bank of fun facts. So last night I dug into my bank and I just wanted to share something exciting, and I think that will land with you, which is I'm not afraid to use more than 2 exclamation points at the end of a sentence. I think we should start to have that conversation. We should get excited for communicating, you know? So that's my fun fact for today.
All right.
That's fantastic.
For anyone who has been on an event previously with Melody, you'll also know that she does dry aged salami in her kitchen as well. So I'm just going to throw that one out there for her. But Lee, I'll turn it over to you. What is kind of one interesting non-RevOps, non-work related thing about yourself that you can share with the crew?
Necessarily about me personally, but the fun fact that people tend to like that I give is I am related to the man who is partially based on Donald Draper in Mad Men. My family was interviewed when they were writing and putting together the plan for that character. So my grandfather, Donald Tennant, was head of creative at Leo Burnett in the early 1950s. And then he brought on Draper Daniels to be his predecessor. So Don Draper is a kind of combination of them two for the heyday of Mad Men advertising.
That is awesome. It reminds me, we actually had someone on a panel it's probably like a month or two ago now, who was neighbors with the Mr. Rogers. And I love the fact now that we've also expanded that, you know, like 6 degrees of separation thing to also now the RevOps relative of the Donald Draper. So that is awesome. All right, so we do have there is a seller experience ebook that Spiff does have available. We've got that listed here. I'm sure that we can drop a link and stuff into the chat on that as well. We did some introductions of the speakers, and so first, I guess let's get started here. And Melody, I'll turn it over to you to kind of speak a little bit about this this particular slide in terms of like today's selling environment and just why this topic on kind of ramping and stuff is important.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think it's so interesting as I was thinking about this slide again last night, you know, I think our LinkedIn feeds are peppered with like State of the Union content. And I think I wanted to kind of provide a deeply kind of personal look into kind of what we really go through as RevOps professionals day in and day out. And so this is our kind of point of view on it as we tee up the topic today. And so there's just like 4 key points I wanted to highlight. So, naturally there's a lot of efficiency conversations, efficiency all throughout the business. So that's pipeline management, deal execution, win rates, productivity, keeping sellers motivated during their onboarding period or while they're ramping, rolls into that efficiency metric. So how quickly they're able to get out of the gates running and performing, I think is one of the efficiency metrics I would love to see more of in our dialogue, just as ops professionals. I think from a RevOps perspective, everyone knows that we're always thinking about the customer journey, the buyer journey, aligning our organizational infrastructure. But I think just something that I'm now observing as that's been established is a lot of these kind of challenges, product kind of enhancements, best practices, things that lead to performance in the ramp period happen in these micro conversations. So, starting to be the glue in your organization, building relationships. So you're across these like little wins that actually help performance. You want to bring them through to the onboarding period, is an important kind of point of view to have. I'll share these 2 more, and then Lee, I'll pass it over to you for your thoughts here. Relationship selling is making a comeback. I think we've also just seen, some of the challenges with personalization at scale, and also some of like kind of the recent limitations on that as well. In your onboarding period, getting your sellers paid meant, turning on sequences, giving them a package to just, run out of the gates and ready to roll on the field. But I think we're going to see a significant shift here for less reliance on mass production. And then I think, the connection between productivity and output really starts at onboarding. One of the things I have said for years is the onboarding period is the period that people are determining how much of their life they're going to give you. It's a period of buy-in. And I think when you think about productivity later on down the road, you really want to set up the first couple of months successfully. So that person, runs out of the gates outside of their ramp period. They're fired up. They're ready to go. They're excited to talk to customers. So this is a couple of just kind of deep thoughts that I wanted to share, teeing up our time today. Lee, I'll pass it over to you. I see your head nodding, so I'm pumped for that.
No, I fully agree with these. I think I want to double hit on the 3rd bullet here around relationship selling. I always kind of rolled my eyes around that being a strategy over the last 5 years, but I think especially with the introduction of AI and the speed that kind of technology is evolving, I am seeing our connection rates drop pretty significantly. And not because we're changing anything about our behavior or how we go to market, but just kind of the nature of the noise in the environment right now. So being kind of a critical data point that we use to predict success and predict our forecasts, I think that's another big one here. And then as far as efficiency, I think it's a really interesting landscape where a lot of people are moving from, growth and scale for the sake of growth to being really more mindful and sustainable around how we grow. And so when it comes to building new incentive plans, building new quota plans, I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind as well.
Yeah. It's funny how all of these things, like, I think we think back to, I don't know how many years ago or months ago, right? It's like outbound is dead, cold calling is dead, and then it's not. It's like, oh, relationship selling is old news. Now it's like, whatever else is like top of mind. And just like fashion, everything comes back and comes back strong. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so let's talk, first on, we got kind of 3 different buckets that we're going to get into here. And the first one is around driving the behavior that can lead to comp plan outcomes. And so Melody, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you to walk through this. But let's first talk about what we've got here, this whole notion of demystifying how one should set kind of ramp targets, because again, I think it all starts with understanding what is ramp, what's the definition of ramp, how do we define it, how do we calculate it, and then how do you set those targets. I know I've probably been guilty of this myself in the past, but I think you ask a lot of people out there and they'll probably be like, oh, our ramp period is 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, right? They'll pick some nice round number that aligns to 1 month or 2 month or 3 months. And, the longer it is, typically that corresponds to like the higher ACV, or the longer their deal cycle is, right? But then if you ask like, well, why is it 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, or how do you calculate that? Then, you probably will start to not get some very good answers, because I don't think anyone really looks at that. So I'll turn it over to you, Melody, to kind of talk first on how to set some of those ramp targets.
Yeah, this is such an important topic, because I feel like, a ramp is something that will always be there when you're hiring a new hire. Ramp is the period to which you are helping that seller achieve full productivity. And when you're looking at ramp month over month, you want to start to measure what are those, milestones that help you get there. And so there's kind of the knowledge ramp, which comes in the onboarding period, which we'll cover in a moment. But then there's also the measurable outcomes that you want to back into ultimately, that feed into your capacity model, that feed into your kind of organization, or organizational objectives. So we wanted to just talk quickly about how to set ramp targets. When I'll share a personal story. When I was hired at Spiff, I was kind of the first enablement hire. And so I was tasked with identifying what is the North Star for us to set a ramp target when you've got historical data, you've got your future state, but then how do you make some educated decisions around how to set these targets? So I'll give you a couple of examples. Typically, depending on your market, depending on your sales cycle time, and then also depending on kind of your organizational maturity, you want to think about different types of ramps. So example one on your screen is if you're in like a highly transactional environment, you're processing maybe 10, 15 deals per month. That means that the pace of the role is quite high. That means you've probably got some sort of efficient marketing engine that feeds leads to your team. And so somebody can just get trained and then jump into the queue, if you will, and start to perform. So maybe example number one is an assumption to make when you're in a heavy transactional kind of environment. Example number four is probably when you're selling into Fortune 500 or Fortune maybe 1000 organizations, where that requires relationship building, that requires building your pipeline, leveraging partners, getting to executives. And so that obviously requires a different degree of product knowledge, that requires your sellers to get up to speed with any sort of like domain knowledge. And obviously that takes a little bit longer. So that ramp period varies depending on your product, your market, who you're selling to. I'll say there's been a couple of scenarios that I know I've worked through on my own. Like one, if you don't have really great data, the way that I've done this, and there's many ways to do this, is you start with your average cycle time with 1 to 2 AEs that have done a great job. That is a great job today, not aspirational, not the one deal that worked exactly, as your maybe your CRO or your leader would want. You're getting to the closest data that gives you the accurate depiction of reality, and then you can back into one of these models. The other thing I'll say is that, if you're selling a brand new product, if you've got a really large variance in ACV, let's say your historical data says, you closed a $50,000 deal 1 month, but then, 6 months later, there was a $150,000 deal. You might want to consider a different measurement until that starts to normalize. So maybe it's a unit incentive, maybe number of deals, until you start to get better data around what the productivity looks like. So, you should feel confident in your stance in pitching this to the organization, but here are some examples for you to work through to set targets.
And so here's a question for, I guess, both you, Melody, and Lee is, so when we talk about ramp, I guess first is like, what's the, we've got like on this slide, all these different examples taking us to 100%. So like 100% of what? Is it like, is ramp like when someone gets to like 100% of their quota? Is it when they get to 100% of their expected quota attainment? Is it some other milestone like, oh, you've now been trained and maybe you're at like 100% of your, I don't know, like pipeline targets that you'll need to, hit your quota over the next 12 months, like what are you ultimately trying to get people towards? Like what's the end goal?
I'll jump
It's
in
a
here.
great question.
Go for it.
No, I was gonna say, like, I think there's a lot of creative ways to like define 100%. Most of the organizations that I've been in, it's the point that your quota no longer it raises on a month-to-month basis. The last organization I worked at, we had a 36-month ramp period. I don't recommend it. It was super demotivating to know that every single month you were signing up for a bigger and bigger number for what felt like forever. But I think, to your point, it could be 100% of efficiency. When I put together a quota or a commission plans, I always want to keep in mind, what are the factors that I like are the bounds of what I can design. And that could be, okay, what is the number of calls that I can expect a rep to make in a day? Like if I build a model that is going to require somebody to make 700 calls a day, that is a broken model. Same thing with number of demos that I expect them to run or whatever that like limiting factor might be. The other thing that I would consider here when it's ramping to 100 is what is your kind of like commercial attribution makeup look like? If you're in an organization that's very product-led growth and you are receiving a healthy amount of inbound leads or partner and channel leads, your ability to ramp faster is obviously a lot more tangible because you know what you're able to route to a rep versus a true kind of hunter outbound motion. So definitely keep those different factors in mind as well.
What would you add to that, Melody?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything Lee just shared. I'll say the way that I, define 100% is, that person is expected to fulfill 100% of their obligations to the organization as a fully ramped employee. So if you've got a quota of, $100,000 for that month that you're off ramp, then, the previous months are 50,000 and then 25,000. So you're ramping up to what the business expects to be a fully productive FTE. And I agree with Lee, like you've got different levers for that. Maybe it's meeting booked, maybe it's meeting showed, in some cases it's, I expect you to have, a certain pipeline dollar amount at stage 3, if you've got a longer sales cycle. So that's where you start to, model out what your objectives are.
Yep. No, that makes sense. And so yeah, we talked a little bit about, I guess, defining the ramp period and some of the learning methods. And so this is where called the enablement part of kind of RevOps comes in. So I guess Melody, talk a little bit about these different buckets, learning versus effort, outcomes, measurements, like like why is this period so critical? And what are some of those different learning methods that can support the reps that are ramping here?
Yeah, when you're thinking about the outcome, like we all do as operations professionals, you want to track the behaviors that lead to the outcome. And I think this is just something I've experienced over the years, time and time again. So when you're putting your comp plan in front of your seller, oftentimes it could be even before they get hired. They might ask about it. Or maybe in that, initial onboarding period, the next thing you're going to say is, well, how do I get there? And so you want to have a really good answer to that because, everyone wants to feel supported and ready to roll. No one comes to work in the morning said, I really want to give 50% today. Right. And you want your team to be motivated, excited, and ready to roll. And so this is just kind of a mental model that I know a lot of operations professionals and sales managers kind of abide by. And that's, learning plus effort equals outcome. And then obviously you measure it. So I'll get into some details in the next slide, but you want to think of every cycle through the onboarding process in this way. As an operations leader, as a compensation professional, you have every right to audit this to make sure that the plans you've set forth will yield the outcomes that you're modeling. So it's a little bit of a mental model, but I'll share some kind of details here that I've learned over the years. And I think most of the time, seller productivity, seller engagement will taper off in the onboarding period when you're thinking about sharing general information in the onboarding period. Imagine that. It's the opposite of what most of us have experienced. So I'll give you an example. When you're doing your department level intros, you should have your sales process up and say, this is how you work with this person, and here's an example why. Like, get right to it. Your sellers will love it, I promise. Or consider moving deal reviews and win reviews into week 1, because then they're going to look at their comp plan that you just walked them through. And then you're going to look at the onboarding program and be like, awesome, in 3 days, I just learned how to sell, this product. And so on the learning side, that's an example of part of that mental model. On the effort side, you want to shadow activities for a product, for implementation. You want to role play conversations that lead to some of those milestones. And then on the measurement and the outcome, you really want to think about, what does somebody need to know to have an initial conversation, like just one conversation at the top of the sales process? Because the manager can kind of ride shotgun with you throughout the rest of it. But at the end of the 30-day period, if you're covering sales process, win reviews, you're covering your resources, and you're giving that person enough confidence to have one conversation, it's the difference between engagement and ramp productivity of 80% to 120% in that period. I promise you. So this is just month 1. I'll kind of pause for any questions. Hopefully this is helpful.
Yeah. No, and I like how we'll get to some of the month 2 and the month 3 things, but I think this is a good, good starting point in terms of things to go over in the first 30 days. And I like what you mentioned about do some things up front that can get people excited about what they're ultimately there to do, right? Which is, sell and kind of close business, right? It doesn't mean that within those first couple of days, you're, telling them to go out and start to take demos or do anything like that, right? But yeah, show them some of the success stories, right? Because that's going to get them pretty fired up to, kind of continue and, keep that momentum going. I guess, Lee, I'm curious on your end, on the, call it the practitioner side, how does this align with some of the things that you've seen or the things that you've done in the past in the first 30 days?
Yeah, I think this is such an important takeaway, to be mindful of doing this first. I think as operational leaders, we have to remember that we probably think differently than a sales motivated individual. And so where we want to dig in with, here's our amazing systems and processes and the way that you should be managing your CRM and the way that you should be thinking about moving your deals through a funnel, isn't as shiny and exciting to a sales rep as it is to us. So really starting with here's the customer pain, here's how you go maximize your ability to succeed here, is what's going to make them want to lean in and hit the ground running.
Yeah. It's like, that's where learn from all those enablement resources and things that you put together for your sales team, where you talk about focusing on the customer and the customer pain points, and use those as you're doing the onboarding for the reps, right? Who are kind of your customer, right? Like, you're in RevOps, they're your customer, they're the ones that you're serving. So yeah, while you might be super jazzed about the Salesforce setup and the workflows and all the wonderful, beautiful process that you've set up, they only care about how it's going to help them do their job, right? So, focus on the things that matter to them. And so if let's say we do that, right, we kind of accomplish these things in the first month. What are some of the things that we've got in month 2, Melody, when it comes to, okay, we've gotten through the first 30 days. Now what do we do in the next 30?
Yeah. So, if the objective is to start to get somebody performing, let's say they're at 25%, 50%, maybe if they're an internal hire, maybe they might be at an accelerated ramp at 50. You want to start to follow the pipeline. So this is where you get intermediate level product knowledge. This is where you have to have an understanding of the integrations. This is probably around opportunity management as well. So, how to log the correct information as the beautiful systems and process is guiding you to. And then you want to start thinking about, okay, what does my pipeline look like? So if I'm in a heavy transactional environment, you probably want to have 2 to 3 opportunities that are mid-stage already, or a couple of meetings booked at the top of your pipeline. So this is where you're learning buyer personas. If you're really big on the team demo, kind of sell, you'll want to understand how to lean into each persona mid sales cycle. So you're following the role, and ultimately that's what leads to the comp plan output. So here's just some kind of examples. Working alongside your mentors or managers, that's really important. All of those deals that you had shared at the top of onboarding that were won, you want to start to connect people with what's working. And then you want to think about progressing new opportunities as it relates to product knowledge, buyer personas, objection handling. So follow the sales process and then back into the content is like my thought for month 2.
Yeah. And Lee, what are some of the, I guess I never asked up front, what's the, at least at TapCheck right now, can you share anything on kind of your expected ramp there, and at least what the kind of the go-to-market characteristics are of at least of your org, and then to like how some of this stuff compares to the way that you all are kind of ramping your new reps?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now we have a 6-month ramp period. And it's a little bit interesting in that we basically have a 3-month ramp, and then they have like 3 months at kind of the same expected threshold, and then they ramp again to when they're at their final level. We are at a really interesting period of growth where what we've built even 9 months ago will need to be kind of reworked as we plan for next year, and some of the different kind of channel mixes that we're walking into. But we are also really fortunate to have a pretty healthy stream of inbound leads. And so our perspective in month 2 is we do like throw a lot of at-bats at them where we know that they're safe to fail, if you will, to be able to have the safe space to fail, the safe space to try new things, the safe space to try out the talk tracks and the different sales plays that we're training them on. And if you're fortunate enough to have that environment and have those kind of records to put at new individuals, I think that's a really a great place to create a training ground for them.
Yeah, so it sounds like that kind of aligns with I guess some of the things we've got here in terms of the 3-month kind of ramp. And I guess then is the purpose of the last 3-month chunk of time to kind of allow them to be out on their own, operating independently, but knowing that they'll probably need some support, and that there's still some kind of like ramp up period there, but they're more or less kind of on their own and autonomous at that point.
Yeah, well, so we find that our buyer persona really changes when you go up market. So the philosophy that we have is let's get them kind of really good at like one type of buyer persona that's typically more of our SMB space customer. And then we spend time kind of in that 3 months, like we're not going to raise your quota on you, but in this time, we're going to kind of put pressure on you, kind of learning how to navigate a more complex sales cycle with more complex stakeholders, so that when quota does start to tick up again and we're expecting them to move up market, that they are prepared to do so.
Interesting. Yeah, so it's kind of like the first 90 days of ramp are on one persona, and then the second 90 days are kind of at another. I guess, Melody, how does that compare to you all just internally at Spiff, and then also maybe using some specific examples in the kind of the month 3 of how you all train some of the new folks at your company?
Yeah, for sure. Spoiler alert, that example is Spiff's. So that would be ours. That being said, I could see us probably adopting a model similar to Lee and TapCheck. I think, we're navigating different buyer personas, different products. And so, finding a different way longer term to mature our ramp schedule will be the way to go. I will say I agree with that kind of tapping out of the ramp period in the bottom 3 months, because it's really around measuring consistency in your primary and your secondary job responsibilities. So you just want to make sure they're good, like day in, day out, they're doing the right behaviors. And then, in the bottom half of that ramp period, you're seeing the autonomy where you then, when you're integrating off of the onboarding period, they're able to get rolling on their own. So that's kind of the month 3 like method.
Yep. That makes sense. And that, again, at least in my own background and experience, very similar to what we've kind of seen as well. And so, we talked, I think, a little bit. I heard both of you mention these things, especially as related to high level, the things that impact ramp, but also like Lee brought up some specific examples related to TapCheck and the company there and what's unique. But Melody, maybe just to sum things up, like, what are the main, for everyone out there who's, kind of listening or watching this later, what are those main factors that affect ramp periods? So one, if someone is either like, maybe they're, early days, right? They're spinning up their sales team. They're trying to figure out like, how should I even like evaluate ramp or figure out what my ramp is? Or maybe they want to, maybe like Lee said, like, their business is changing, growing rapidly, things are iterating. And so things look very different now than they did, say, 6 or 9 months ago. And they want to reevaluate kind of the ramp period that they have. What are those main factors that people should think about when they're trying to figure that out?
Yeah, I'll give you a good example. Like seasonality example is, maybe the first week of the month, operations professionals may not be available for you, especially after the quarter end. And so if you've got a heavy transactional environment, you're selling to operations, rev ops leaders, and you might want to start to consider that maybe that 1 month of productivity is actually 3 weeks. Similar on the accounting and the finance side, there's times where they're closing the books. And so the time that your seller is, or your buyer is available to you is a little bit different than what you see on your ramp schedule, oddly enough. So those are just some kind of things you want to think about. On the ICP side, if you're selling to C-level, know that there's going to be availability maybe 2 to 3 weeks out. So if you're expecting to shorten your cycle time, you might want to be mindful of just general scheduling with your buyer persona. So these are kind of like the details to work through as you're thinking about how to point your seller in the right direction during the ramp period. But these are all things that I've experienced, I know, and working around.
Yeah. And I know, like, you mentioned, I think before, was it in here, like one, month 3, right? Like one deal forecasted to close, right? Make sure you think about, like, when does that deal need to be generated, right? Like, when should the pipeline be generated? And then also, like, how, right? Like, do you have a like full cycle account executives that are doing prospecting and closing, right? Because then you got to build in, make sure there's lead time on the prospecting side to actually generate the pipeline they need to close, or is it going to be something that's inbound and kind of handed out? Because if you start to add up the days and the weeks and the things like that, that stuff can make a big difference. And again, ramp is one of those things that I feel like is easily kind of glossed over from for people, or maybe they just take what's given to them, but kind of one of those areas that's crucially important, right? Especially as you grow your sales team. If you think if you got 5 salespeople on your team, let's say like your ramp period is off by just like 1 week, right? Like across 5 new people over the course of the year, like that's 5 weeks of selling, right? Like that's a whole nother month plus of selling. That's just a team of 5. So important to get right, important to understand for sure. And so we've talked a lot about that, right? Like, why is it important and things like that. But let's talk a little bit about where compensation ties in, because that's obviously one of the kind of critical elements here. And so Melody, I'll kind of turn it over to you first to talk about the different, I guess, levers, different components of comp, and how that kind of plays into ramp as well.
Yeah, for sure. So I was thinking about like how to start to translate some of these like behaviors into these like measurable outcomes also outside of this kind of ramp schedule. And when you think about the comp plan components, there's different kind of factors to play into to drive motivation with your team. So you're looking at base salary and you're probably thinking like, Melody, duh. And you're right, like base salary is important. However, if you're a commission only environment, you might want to consider, some sort of step up. I know, mind blown. Yeah, there you go. So you might want to consider some sort of a step up for maybe your more kind of senior sellers. Maybe they've been with you for a couple of years, and the next step is to have maybe a senior title. You might want to consider a base salary for them. Or if you're planning to promote a SDR to an AE or inside seller to a full cycle role, or inside sales to a full cycle role, you might want to consider what base salary will be exciting for them and really motivate them to perform at the next level. I think for bonuses and incentives, oftentimes with a newer market, I had experienced this as a seller. We were selling a brand new product into a new market, but a proven concept. And so we weren't really sure what our sense of volume might be like. So, I obviously was incentivized on attainment, but I also had a volume bonus as well. So if we missed on the attainment side due to the lack of information that was modeled, we were able to then, still make some cash based on the deals that we had closed. So there's also kickers and accelerators. Maybe if you determine that is easier to kind of target organizations that are moving off of a certain type of process or a certain type of system, you obviously want to incentivize that with some sort of kicker too. So this kind of rolls into your business objective, but it really is important to think about like, what are the levers to pull to get your sellers paid and motivated ultimately through that ramp period.
Yeah. One, and I know this is kind of like the next area we're getting into as well, as around kind of the role of comp plans and designs. But and maybe I'll ask Lee, I'll ask you this question first about the kind of comp plan makeup, whether it's at TapCheck or just previously in your experience. But when I've I'm curious on like, what are maybe the most common and like some specific examples of how to structure like comp for ramping reps. Like in the past, when I was trying to kind of figure this out at an early stage company, it was like, oh, we'll just like we'll just pay people out, for like 100% of their OTE like in the first month, and then it'll just like gradually go down right to zero when they're supposed to be fully ramped, and that's it. Right? Like there's no more creativity than that, just a simple math equation. Like, what are maybe the things, and Lee, I don't know, like what are the things that you all look like, or how do you structure the things at TapCheck, right? Like for those ramping folks.
I've seen this done in so many different ways. I think it's really important to keep in mind the like ratio of base to incentive pay, and depending on what that ratio is what will indicate like whether or not you need like faster and also time to receive an incentive after a deal closes. At my previous company, reps, I was in the manufacturing business, reps got paid not when they closed a deal, but after the part got manufactured and shipped to a customer. So depending on the size of the deal, sometimes they would get paid their incentives like 6 to 12 months after they closed a deal. In a very enterprise environment, you're typically looking at like 50-50 base to incentive, if not lower base to incentive. And that's where I would consider some sort of draw, whether it be recoverable or not recoverable, because so much of their income is based on this risk factor. I really wouldn't consider any sort of guaranteed incentive pay without kind of a 50-50 mix or more extreme, personally, just because you typically can ramp faster and start earning that income. But those are the levers that I would keep in mind. In that manufacturing instance, we did redesign our comp plan so that they did get a small percentage, like 20% upfront when the deal closed, and then they got the remainder on shipment. And even that just helped us retain talent, helped us hire talent, because they were able to receive some of that incentive right away. And that kind of immediate gratification is an important piece of incentivization as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a kind of like a double whammy of like oh, I went through the ramp period. I got there. Now I closed some deals, but I still just can't get paid quite yet. So,
Yeah. Oh, you also get your paycheck and you completely dissociate like what it's related to. So it
like,
doesn't
oh, yeah, that's
relate
right.
what
That
you're
one
looking around
deal
for.
that's one deal that I closed like 18 months ago and got delayed because of production issues or whatever, right? Things outside of their control. Yeah, Melody, I guess what's your take on that? In terms like the section obviously is like the crucial role of comp plans. Y'all are comp plans experts. You've got some kind of data points here on like what folks should consider. So yeah, curious for your take.
Yeah, look, I think all this slide really says is when you've got the right compensation plan in place or in the compensation incentives in place, it does lead to performance. Not only like on your statement, you look at you see how much you made and you're pumped to go make that again the next month. But then also having that real-time visibility day to day into how much you possibly could make is also a motivating factor as well. One thing, Lee, that you said that really set off a light bulb in my mind is that base and variable comp split. Having that for a seller, but then also having that for a manager. Maybe it's 50-50 for a seller, 60-40 for a seller, or then 70-30 for a manager. That is very motivating for your team, but then also gives you that competitive edge depending on your landscape to recruit talent. It's a great point. So the other thing I will say is that for your go-to-market team, I am incentivized the same way that our sales managers are. I am incentivized on attainment, and that has really been a game changer for me day to day to prioritize and align anything that we're doing to kind of revenue activities. And this slide just kind of summarizes everything that we're kind of working through. So you're aligning all of your comp planning to your business objectives. You want to be nimble. Maybe I've met so many operations professionals that have fairly standard comp plans, but for a specific territory that's saturated with potential business or saturated with kind of warmer leads, that comp plan maybe has changed slightly. So maybe also thinking about some of your inputs as it relates to your total addressable market. And then also on the execution side, it's giving your team real-time visibility. So they trust the plan and they trust the output of what they'll see on their statement. So, obviously, depending on your systems infrastructure, any sort of seamless integration with your single source of truth yields some really strong results for your team because that gets data into their hands faster too. So that's kind of the gist of what you're seeing in front of you.
Yep. Lee, do you
I would just
go ahead.
I would just add like simplicity goes a really long way. I think there's like a lot of room for creativity and a lot of like levers that you can pull. I really enjoy kind of the bonus component of an incentive plan, the spiff performance. And I would say like segment that for your really creative, like quick sprint initiatives for the business and keep your base level comp plan as like simple as possible. Because if reps have to do calculus to figure out what they're earning, they're not going to be as motivated as something that's like really straightforward.
Yep. Agreed. And I was going to ask Lee, at least at TapCheck, do you all on the RevOps side, are you all using like comp software for managing the whole commissions things, or are you doing it manually out of spreadsheets?
We are doing it in Salesforce. Our comp plan's super simple. And so we were able to build kind of the formula fields required to give all reporting in Salesforce. I will say, like at my previous organization, that absolutely was not the case. And we did evaluate spiff at that time and was a game changer.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess where I was going with that, like well, I think you kind of answered it, which is you have a way to provide visibility to the team without them needing to ask you for like, how was this calculated, or why were things calculated this way? And I can speak for experience, and you both hit on this with like the real-time visibility, the trust and transparency side. Yeah, like I can't tell you, like when I was managing things out of spreadsheets, how many times people would ask to just like see the math. And it was like, okay, every time, I knew when payroll was gonna go out, it was like, made sure I budget some time for those inbound requests to come in over Slack or email, right? People being like, well, hey, I thought, like, I do the math, I thought it was gonna be this, or like, well, why isn't this a key logo, but this is, and like all this stuff. So yeah, again, whether you use a tool or not, like figure out some way to give people visibility into that, because that will also eliminate a lot of headache and those inbound requests that you ultimately don't want.
Yeah, I know we talked a lot about onboarding. I just will put a point here that like retention is really important in our marketplace right now as well. And visibility to comp, I think, is a critical thing to make sure that you're retaining talent.
Yep, 100%. 100% agreed. And so let's end within the last like 10 minutes or so some of those ways that we can maybe get creative on the comp side, right? Get out of the whole like default like some sort of draw that's recoverable or non-recoverable, and maybe get into some more things that are creative. So Melody, I'll start with you on the motivation side. I know you hit on this a little bit, but talk again about like why is that one of the key components here.
Yeah, when I think about this slide, I think of, at the manager level, you should be sitting down with your direct report and reviewing their progress to not only productivity, but then also just making sure that they're achieving their financial goals, because that's really what the comp plan does when the laptop closes, is that they're achieving their goals at a personal level, and that's what is motivating too, right? And so I think that's just the most important thing here. Like Lee had mentioned, there's standardization, but there's also simplicity as well. Having that real-time visibility into what you're earning, both against your plan, but then also at the deal level, is equally as motivating, because for a variety of factors, that how to kind of prioritize your time. So in some ways, your plans are simple where they're aligned to attainment. And in some ways, like I've mentioned, I've met so many ops professionals where they really have to zero in on a specific market, a specific segment, a specific type of geographic kind of area to ensure that they're maximizing not only the plans for the seller, but then also for the company as well.
Yep. And that makes sense. I mean, Lee just hit on, the thing here, right, about, salespeople leaving their job if they're dissatisfied with their comp plan. And so I guess, Lee, curious, you mentioned the simplicity stuff before. Do you all do anything that maybe lands in the like personalization bucket versus the standardization bucket at TapCheck?
Yeah, I think, we are in a very high growth environment. We 3x ARR this year and plan to do it again next year. And every quarter, what we're focused on as a business changes, fairly dramatically, whether we release a new product feature or we automate a piece of our inbound sales cycle. And so like that's where we're iterative on an incentive plan to make sure that we can like drive the enablement that we need for the pace that we're moving. So that's an example. We released a new product feature and we had kind of a quarterly bonus based on the sales rep that was able to productively sell like that feature most in that quarter. So stuff like that.
Yeah. And we've got, I guess, Melody, you listed some examples here, maybe on, how people can start to kind of get creative. But yeah, maybe talk about, what each of these kind of mean to you. And then, yeah, if you do have any specific examples that you've seen either obviously internally at Spiff or that you've seen Spiff customers use as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'll also hit on Morgan's question here in the chat. And I think let's talk about like the team sell with the account executive and the account manager. So let's say, an account executive just closed the deal, but they anticipate, for example's sake, seat growth in the next 6 months, where the account executive did the discovery, but then, technically the account is now owned by the account manager. We at Spiff have rules of engagement in place for that. So, it's time-based. So I've seen everything from 6 months to a year where the AE gets incentivized on feature seat growth early on in the customer's life cycle. And then obviously the account manager gets credit on the expansion as well. So that is a really good example of a team sell where you want your account executives or your sellers thinking about what the future opportunity might be and teeing that up for the account managers. I will also say on the team side here at Spiff, our sales engineers are incentivized really similarly to our account executives. It's a very technical sale. It requires a lot of information to uncover around your data infrastructure, and that is key to our sales engineers' success too. So just making sure that you're marching together towards the same objective relative to your sales process, I think is kind of the team sell. I will also say in a past life at the individual level, we talk about creativity. At the individual level, we had a comp plan that was very nimble. We were just starting to expand up market, and we wanted to incentivize just general traction. And so we had incentives for C-level meetings, incentives for a competitive rip and replace. We had incentives for, going into new industries. It really was just a very broad set of levers, but that allowed us to adjust to different geographic territories, but also it was our sale was heavily focused on different verticals, and that allowed us to lean into what that particular experienced account executive wanted for their accounts. So those are a couple of examples of some success metrics that are, better together.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I agree. And I love the team-based accelerators and the spiffs too. I don't know, like people like doing stuff together, right? And if you can do something fun for people together, like that is a very good way to motivate people, where like even like if you did that individually and the sum of like those individual parts was equal to like the team bonus, I guarantee you'll get more bang for your buck if you do it at the team level. And so yeah, the other thing we talked about was momentum. And I guess, Melody, you got dollar bills at kind of two spots on this slide. So tell us why.
Well, I'll double click on, I think a topic we've all mentioned is that real-time visibility. And so, at the top of the sales process, or maybe when the seller is ramping, you want to be really clear as to what behaviors lead to those successful outcomes. And then also, when you're working your way through the sales process, just giving visibility to your sellers as to what their potential earnings might be is incredibly motivating, because ultimately those dollars fuel the seller's personal goals. And I think that's the thing to remember throughout all of it, is you want that to happen. That encourages retention, per what Lee said earlier. So real-time visibility throughout your sales process. And then obviously when you look at your statement after the deal is won, you're doing a little fist pump, either with your friends or however you choose to celebrate.
Yeah. No, I like that. It's like we talked about earlier, whether it's formula fields in Salesforce because the math is simple, or a third-party tool, or some other way that just gives visibility into things from start to finish, makes a big deal. And then celebrate those things, right? Like don't forget to celebrate them and do that as a team, make them visible. Like, don't let the transparency stop, right? Like at that point, like someone closes a deal, tell the whole company they closed the deal, and like everybody get excited about it and high five and throw the gifts in there, right? Like, let's all celebrate. And so in the last couple of minutes here as we wrap up, this is our kind of one of we're getting to the last couple of slides. So what are some of the things, I guess to sum it up, Melody, that you would try to call out for people, right? The things that we've kind of talked about over the last couple of minutes here.
Yeah, I think this summarizes this discussion just really beautifully. And so, at the top of the seller's experience, whatever that may be, whether they're an external hire, they're an internal promotion, just create a path to align the behaviors and outcomes, have a way to track it, however you do that. Keeping it simple, because your sellers will always have questions and you want to have that answer available and clear for them, I think is the most important thing when I think of keep it simple. And then implementing the right tools, whatever tool works for you across your journey as an operations professional, but also as a company, whatever you need to do to scale, provide the reporting that your finance team needs, always thinking one step ahead. Comp is such a near and dear topic, of course, to Spiff, but also to us as operations professionals that support the sellers day in and day out. You always want to do right by your internal customer for this.
Yep. And Lee, what's the thing that I guess you would leave people with as we kind of close up and talk about closing remarks here?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say always keep in mind that compensation is a very emotional topic to a lot of people. I've never changed a comp plan, and no matter how much you can prove that it's going to be better and maximize their income, that it doesn't send a ripple of fear through your team. So I think always coming back to, just I guess empathy for the team and empathy for what you're trying to motivate and do for the individual at the end of the day would be a guiding factor. And I'll end in a very soft way.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. Much more than just numbers on a screen or math equations that are part of the job of RevOps, right? It is pay. It's the dollars that people use to feed their families, pay their mortgages, all that good stuff. And so, yeah, anytime you start to muck around in that, even if it's for the better, just know that, yeah, there's going to be that emotional component associated with it. So with that, we're basically right at time. So I will let you all run. Lee, Melody, thank you very much for dropping some knowledge all around ramp and comp plans associated with ramping. For everybody who tuned in, thank you for watching and listening as well. But that's all we got for you. So I will let you all run and I'll see you at the next one. All right. So take care, everybody. See you on the flip side and have a good one.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.